Welcome back to the Kenny Beecham Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. The season has started. Real basketball is being played, and it all matters. I cannot wait to get into it with you guys today. We got 6 things I've learned through the first week of the season. Now, it was supposed to be 7, but I had to scratch one thing because some team looked better tonight than I anticipated, and we might get to them eventually, but 6 things about the NBA. Before we get into it, as always, I have to remind you, if you are on YouTube, leave a like on the episode, subscribe, tell a friend, because we're on the quest to become the #1 basketball podcast in America. In America, we've maxed out at 5, but now that we're going 2 times a week, I'm expecting to go higher and higher and higher. So Club Shay, Shannon Sharp, count your days. We're on the way. If you're on YouTube, go over to Spotify, go over to Apple, pre-download the episodes, leave 5 stars, because those things matter the most to us as we try to continue to grow this brand. All right, are we ready? Are we ready for the things that I am, learning over the course of the NBA season? The first thing is, this is crazy. To open up the show, not even actually talking about the games being played itself, because I got a gripe with, not you, because I'm just going to assume that if you watching the Kenny Beecham Podcast, you're listening to the Kenny Beecham Podcast, you don't fit into this period or these people that I'm talking about today. I made a tweet a couple days ago that, it was spur of the moment. I'm sure my mathematics is a little bit off, but the tweet was, I feel like 70% of NBA fans don't even like basketball. I didn't really add much context to it. And people are like, Kenny, what are you on about? Honestly, that tweet went somewhat viral. A lot of people were agreeing, and some people said that 70% might not be high enough, but I was definitely a little bit of my feelings after this. So let me explain what was going on, all right? We saw a game between Kevin Durant and LeBron James, the LA Lakers versus the Phoenix Suns. And in this game, the Phoenix Suns did not have Devin Booker. They did not have Bradley Beal. But for the most part, it didn't matter because Kevin Durant was doing the things that we know Kevin Durant can do. I was really excited for this matchup, not just because we have 2 teams that I believe should be in contention this season, but because we haven't seen LeBron James and Kevin Durant play each other since 2018. Christmas to be exact. And I want to remind you what was going on in 2018. It was the first year of LeBron James in LA. KD was on the Golden State Warriors. We done seen KD bounce around a couple different teams since then. It was so long ago that Lonzo Ball was playing alongside LeBron. That is how long it's been since we've seen a Kevin Durant and LeBron James matchup. And we got years of it happening in the finals. We've seen it on Christmas before this. So I just become accustomed to seeing 2 of the best players from this generation battle it out a couple times a year. And we went 5 years without it, right? In this game, we saw the LA Lakers beat the Suns 100-95. It was a dogfight. It wasn't necessarily pretty, like majority of basketball this week. Let's be real. It hasn't been a ton of pretty performances, but it's ball at the end of the day. The game wrapped up, and I tweeted, shout out to LeBron and Kevin Durant for putting on the show. And you would have thought I said something controversial. The comment section was just filled with a bunch of negativity. And I feel like I'm in the last generation of NBA fans that actually enjoy the basketball being played. A lot of people are invested in basketball because of the drama, and I'm not going to fault them because the drama amongst all of the major sports league, the drama in the NBA is top tier. We got trade requests left and right. We got so much going on. People are more obsessed with the drama, with the agendas, and with just having a correct take. So I made this tweet. And I just, for context, for the people that did not watch this game, let me read you the stat lines of Kevin Durant and LeBron. Remember, I'm telling the world that I'm appreciative of Kevin Durant and LeBron for their performances. KD ended with 39 points and 11 rebounds. LeBron James ended with 21 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists, and he had a personal 7-0 run to close out this game. Now, both of these guys, they were far from perfect. Kevin Durant had a lot of turnovers down the stretch that were kind of unforced. Now, granted, he was seeing 2 to 3 bodies every time he touched the ball. But yes, when it got down to the nitty-gritty in the last couple minutes, KD ran out of gas, and that led to a couple turnovers, one being thrown to Josh Okogie, who he thought was cutting, but he wasn't cutting. So it was very far from perfect. But my initial tweet is saying, hey, it's been 5 years since we've seen these dudes. LeBron is 38, Kevin Durant is 35, and I thought they both gave us what we wanted. But boy, you would have thought something crazy was said. because I saw it to both sides of the coin. Now, of course, there were people that genuinely agreed. But again, the people that I'm talking about are genuinely in the minority. I know the tweet says 70% of NBA fans don't care. I was exaggerating. It's not 70%. Majority of people are saying, yes, Kenny, that is true. Enjoyed the game, whatever, whatever. But I saw both sides of the coin. People saying Kevin Durant didn't show up, and also people saying LeBron didn't show up. People saying that Kevin Durant didn't show up and he's not clutch. Talking about the turnovers down the stretch or the few missed shots. And yes, Kevin Durant had, I think, 33 points going into the fourth quarter, ended with 39. So yes, his fourth quarter was not his greatest quarter. It wasn't. And the people that were saying LeBron got carried because LeBron ended up with 21 while Anthony Davis ended up with 30. So the 38-year-old player got carried. Kevin Durant is not clutch, so they didn't enjoy the game. How do we get to that conclusion? These dudes just gave us a national TV game, a performance, a matchup that we haven't seen in 5 years. LeBron got carried. Did you not see MJ pass to Kerr? Pass to Paxson? Did you not see the Ray Allen shot? Or the Kyrie Irving shot? This is a team sport, y'all. No matter how good an individual player is, they're never going to be able to win by themselves. I mean, random regular season games, sure, we see it all the time. But when it matters, it just blew my mind that I was showing admiration for these old heads that gave us a performance, and that's what it was. And what I think a lot of it is people are inspired by take culture. And again, having a take is fun. This podcast is filled with takes, but I also don't have these takes and wait for my validation. There's a lot of takes that I'm going to get wrong, and that is okay. The KD is not clutch take has been following him for years. And again, the numbers say that he performs slightly worse in the clutch. That's facts. But I don't want you at home to watch Kevin Durant score 39 and 11. And the takeaway you have from it is he's not clutch. Because boy, basketball is more than just the last 2 minutes. Clutchness is more than what you do in the last 2 minutes. I see clutch in the moments where the Lakers were storming back on a 9-0 run and Kevin Durant with 23 seconds on the clock or 22 seconds on the clock had a pull-up jump shot to silence the drought. That's clutch. It happened early in the fourth quarter instead of at the end, but that is clutch at the end of the day. So when I said that 70% of NBA fans don't love basketball, exaggeration. But if you fall into that camp, I just want you to take a step away from social media and watch basketball for what it is, because it is a beautiful, beautiful sport. Forget about whether or not you believe that this player is this good and you want to prove that you were right. Just watch it for what it is. A beautiful sport with a split-second decision can cost you a game. That's what we're here for. That is the first thing I learned for the first week. Now, this is not something, I guess, I didn't learn it this week, but it was amplified this week. How about I say that? The second thing I learned this week is that the Denver Nuggets should still be considered the favorite. Whoa, Kenny. Whoa. The Bucks traded for Damian Lillard, though game 2 of Damian Lillard with the Bucks was one of his worst games in his entire career. Like, I watched that game against the Atlanta Hawks. I have never seen Damian Lillard get thrown a double team and him not know how to adjust since the one series versus the Pelicans. It's a second regular season game. I'm not overreacting to it, but it was just different. I'll say that. After watching years and years and years of domination from Dame, to see him have this bad a performance was just different. But we saw the Milwaukee Bucks trade for Damian Lillard. We saw the Boston Celtics go get Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday. We saw the Suns add Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant last deadline. But the defending champions, in my opinion, are still the team to beat. I've watched every single game of them this season. Actually, I was at the ring ceremony, and it was the most amazing atmosphere I've ever experienced as an NBA fan. I've been to Madison Square Garden when it mattered. I've been to Chicago Bulls playoff games, and none of them even come close to the first game of the season after winning the championship. The atmosphere were great. They had drums playing, which made me feel like I was in a Coliseum, March Madness vibes, and the commentators or the people over the announcing table made everybody feel involved. KCP hit a 3. It was 1, 2, 3. KC Pope, Kenny Pope for 3. They should still be considered the favorite because they, right now, through the first couple games of the season, feel like they have little to no flaws. Now, first of all, They have Nikola Jokic. Let's be real. There are a couple people right now through the first week of the season that you should consider to be an MVP conversation. We got Luka Doncic being 2-0 in both of those games. He put up clutch performances and 40-point this and that, 49 points in one of them. He's been ridiculous. Nikola Jokic is 3-0, and he's not, I'm going to say coasting, but it's just the way that Nikola Jokic plays basketball that it doesn't seem like he's out there giving it his all, but we know he is. You know, we saw the little reel that the Denver Nuggets put together to tell people, stop saying that he don't love a game because he genuinely do. He just don't love the medium. He is doing it so very effortlessly. I watched him play against the OKC Thunder, and that was the most anticipated game of the night for me, or it was during the day. But I was so excited because OKC, through the first couple games, have looked dominant. I'm super excited for them. They've been my league pass team. They dominated my Chicago Bulls and then went out to the second game and came back when they were down by 8 points in 2 minutes with the Cleveland Cavaliers. They look great. So I'm like, okay, this is the real test for the OKC Thunder. They played against the Bulls, trash. They played against the Cavaliers when they were missing some people. So let me see them play against the real competition, the best team in the association. It wasn't close. It was not close. And that's not really saying that the Thunder aren't ready, because the Thunder are a good team in my opinion, but that just shows you how good and how deep this Denver Nuggets team is. And that's saying something because I didn't necessarily think they were going to be a deep team given the people that they lost. Early in this first quarter, Nikola Jokic went at Chet Holmgren's chest time after time after time again because he probably saw a 7'1" skinny frame guy and was like, this is free cheese. And it was for him. I think he ended up with 29, 30 points, double-double. He did his thing. But it's not just about Nikola Jokic. Like, obviously, yes, having the best player in the world or one of the two best players in the world matters a ton. But the team that Calvin Booth built around them is just amazing. First, I want to talk about the defense of Aaron Gordon and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, because first of all, this is a defense that is higher than just those two dudes, but those are the dudes that when I watch stand out on the defensive efforts. Aaron Gordon, so far through the first 3 games, looks like an all-defensive player. He is everywhere. He is a Swiss Army knife where you need him to guard LeBron. I guard LeBron. We need him to guard D'Angelo Russell. I can do that. We need him to switch on to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I can hold my own. And as a help defender, we watched him a ton over the past 2 days make plays. All of them doesn't end in a steal or a block, but he's impacting the defense higher than he has over the last couple of years. And that's saying something because he's been a good defender. And now he's looking like a great defender through the first couple games. Kenny Pope. Kenny Hustle has got the patch in the back. And get well soon, Kenny Hustle. We need to see you on the court because you got a DNP injury today as well. Kenny Pope is flying all over the place. Talk about loose balls. Talking about somebody just having a loose handle. Don't do that in front of KCP. And God forbid he's trailing on the break because he is pulling up for 3. Those dudes collectively make me feel like this defense is going to be really good. And then now we see, of course, Jamal Murray's always been a guy to buy in. Nikola Jokic over the last couple seasons have become a guy that was widely considered to be a bad defender, to be an average defender, to be an above average defender, just because his hands are just so elite. The defense is there. And the thing that I think is kind of underrated when you think about the Denver Nuggets is how much playmaking they really have. They have the playmaker, the guy, Nikola Jokic. But Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray, off the bench, Christian Brown, Reggie Jackson has looked amazing through 3 games. And Peyton Watson's not really known for his playmaking, but he makes plays without having the ball. There was a quote in a Ringer article that Kevin O'Connor wrote before the season started where he got a candid interview with Calvin Booth, the guy that's in charge over there with building the team. And he got a little backlash for it because he made some quotes and he didn't know that he was on the record, so on and so forth. Let me read you one of these quotes about Peyton Watson, who's becoming one of my favorite players in basketball. I was high on him going into it, but not this high. I read this quote when it happened. I was like, I got to see it. Some of these teams were trying to get Bruce. He was referring to Bruce Brown, trying to make it worth it. It's like, just be careful for what you wish for. Peyton's bigger. He's longer. He's more athletic. He guards better. He passes better. He doesn't have the experience, and he's not as good offensively yet. But we need defense more than we need offense on our team. In the moment when that dropped, I'm like, dang. Because Brucey Brown was just so very important to that championship run. You telling me that this dude that barely got PT during the playoffs is going to fill that role? I'm kind of skeptical. And it's been 3 games. Again, we're overreacting to a degree. He's looked really, really good. He doesn't have the volume of 3-point shots yet for me to know if he'll be able to do some of the things when it matters the most. I think right now he's shooting like 40% from three on like 1.7 attempts, so his value is not very high. But he is the perfect kind of player to put alongside Nikola Jokic. Very similar to what I said last year with Bruce Brown, because they have this knack for being in the right place at the right time. And Peyton Watson being as athletic as he is, when he cuts, if Jokic finds him, it's GG's. It's a dunk. It's a layup. I saw him do a dish off pass yesterday against or a couple days ago against the Grizz. I'm like, oh, snap. And of course, we talk about defense on this team. He's one of the best shot blocking guards in the league right now. Full stop. There's a play earlier in today's game where they're going against OKC, and he's a help defender against Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and he climbs a ladder so very high to meet the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander floater at the apex. The defense was so good on Shai that Shai had his worst game of maybe 2 seasons. Like, that's how it was. Again, Shai was missing a lot of shots, and he's a guy that can get to the rim at will, but it was a struggle. And he didn't have any minutes where he wasn't being guarded by somebody that I deem to be a really good defensive player. This team is good. And I don't know if there's wiggle room to make it better at the deadline. But as is, right now, they are still the favorite to me. I ain't even mentioned Michael Porter Jr. is back to shooting after the first game against the Lakers where he struggled for shooting a little bit. He's back to shooting very well. And did I mention Reggie Jackson? I think I did. When he resigned, he's one of the first re-signings of the offseason. And I was a bit confused when him and Dre re-signed. I'm a bit confused because Reggie didn't play a ton during the playoff run, and Dre got minutes in the finals, but it was a small amount of minutes, and they signed back really quick. I was like, oh, that's very interesting, especially when we consider that Bruce Brown had already signed with the Pacers or that Jeff Green was on his way to Houston. I'm like, oh, okay, we're bringing back 2 players that didn't even play really in the playoff run. And Dre doesn't play, let's be real. He's there for cohesion. He's there to be a locker room guy, and that's one thing we got to give Dre credit for. But that man, Reggie Jackson, looks very, very good. Just a couple years ago, Reggie Jackson was a starting point guard on a good team. You know, he ended up getting bought out or whatever, and he's struggled to look like the player that he was, let's say, 3 seasons ago. I'm not saying he's that, but he looks really good as a backup point guard, even though I still really, really hate the fact that this man wears mismatched shoes. It's just too many players in the league that's doing it right now. I think 3 is the number. I think it's only 3 players. It is him, who's one of the originators. Javon Carter's been doing this since high school. Javon Carter, and now Jalen, J-Dub from the OKC Thunder. Can you imagine my discomfort when they were playing against each other today? And I saw Reggie Jackson on the court with J-Dub. Come on, man. What is happening? That is my second observation. All right, I buried it. I buried the lead. A lot of y'all are aware that I was going to have to talk about the Chicago Bulls. My Chicago Bulls. The team, you know, sometimes I sit back and I think, what if my parents didn't meet here? How much more fun will basketball be if I wasn't a fan of this team? Now, I'm not getting rid of my fandom. That would be the last thing I'd do. I am Chicago Bulls to the day that I no longer exist, you know? But boy, it has not been a great time. It has not been a great time since I was born in 96. You know, we got a couple rings after that, but when I was conscious and starting to care about basketball, we have had, 3 good seasons, 3 seasons where I was super, super excited. This season started off as bad as any season could possibly start off. First game of the year, we go against the young OKC Thunder, and they run us out of our own gym. Our home opener, everybody's hype. And guess what? I've attended every single home opener when it was available, because of course during the COVID year we couldn't go. Every single home opener for the last 5 seasons. I've been there until this year because I had grown tired of watching this team play. I watched at home, but as far as making the commute, because I don't live in Chicago anymore, y'all. I done made it out. You feel me? I'm in the burbs. So making the commute to the city to watch my favorite team lose by 20 points is something I don't want to do often. So I'm like, okay, it's a full slate, 13-game slate. I would rather stay home and put the Bulls on the big screen and watch all the other stuff across the association. That was the greatest call I could have made because I would have been so hot. I would have left that game mid-third quarter. So they lose by a ton of points to a young OKC team. And what happens? The fastest players-only meeting in the history of basketball. No exaggeration. Go look at the records. The fastest one in the history of nobody has ever, at least publicly, had a players-only meeting after the first game of the year. It happened here in Chicago. And Billy Donovan came to the presser. He tried to spin it to make it seem like this is a great thing. He was excited about it. Brother, that's not good. That's not good. So we lose the first game of the season. DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine is saying, hey, we going to be better. Don't worry, don't worry. In the second game of the year, they played against Toronto Raptors, and that was one of the most electric games of the year so far. It was so many swings where the Raptors started off 17-0 run, the Bulls going to 20-0 run, then the Raptors going to 17-0 run, and then the Bulls came back. They were down by 17 with 5 minutes to go. They go out, forced overtime, they win the game. Boom. I'm like, okay, I'm happy in the moment, but I understand that this is not going to last long. Then they play it back-to-back. Third game of the year, they go against the Detroit Pistons, and they get smoked again. Zach LaVine puts up 51.0 assists. Do you understand how hard it is to have 0 assists when you have the ball enough to put up 50? I digress. They get dominated by one of the youngest teams in the league. Cade Cunningham, Jalen, Duren, and company really smack the Bulls around. And when you have a guy put up 50 and you still lose by 17, that's going to get people talking. The problem I have with the Bulls is that we have a sample size of a season and a half saying that, hey, this core does not work. And yet the front office is still holding on to the half of a year where we had Lonzo Ball and we went into the All-Star break with the best record in the Eastern Conference. They're still holding on to that and saying like, hey, we can replicate that when we can't. I'm gonna be honest. Even when we were the 1 seed, go watch any of the videos. I was saying, this is not a contender. We're just having a good time. We're just having a good time. And since then, since Lonzo has been down, we have looked dreadful. Good enough to make the play-in, but that shouldn't be the goal. And 99% of NBA fans, NBA writers, or anybody with an opinion about the Chicago Bulls share the same sentiment that it is time for the Bulls to give it a rest. Nikola Vucevic signed an extension this offseason. It's a pretty good extension for Vucevic's production. I do want to give them credit for that. But he said, like, hey, the front office is saying that this might be our last hurrah. There was reports right before the season started that DeMar DeRozan and the Chicago Bulls are at a standstill with his contract negotiations. And I was like, yes. I don't want to extend DeMar DeRozan because that's just going to put us back into mediocrity. That's not DeMar's fault. That's the team that we built. So 99% of fans, of people that cover and everybody else is saying that it is time to blow it up. And there's still the 1% of people, or then the people that are the 1% are the people in charge. They look at this team. They see that we selling tickets because Chicago, baby, we going to ride for our team. And they say, hey, we'll be all right. Before the season started, or after last season ended, right? We lose the play-in game to the Miami Heat. Shout out to the Heat. They go to the finals. You know the story. Arturas Karnisovas comes to the podium and he was asked at the season ending presser, what are we doing this offseason? And he said, well, we're going to address our biggest problems, which is our 3-point value. And then was another thing that, whatever. So the shot diet now. Last year, they were 29th in the league in 3-point attempts, right? 30% of their 100% of shots were 3-pointers, which is 29th in the entire association. And to remind you again, what year we're playing in, the 3-point shot is as important as any shot in basketball, not named a layup. It's as important as a layup at this moment, right? So they were 29th in the league in how many attempts they got up from 3, and they were 26th in the percentage. So not only did we not get a lot of them up, we didn't hit them. It's like, okay, no big deal. No big deal. We'll be all right, right? They're changing the shot diet. We have people that should be good 3-point shooters, right? So the new season starts, and that is the number one thing on my priority list when I'm watching the Bulls play. I already know that we're not going to be good, but I'm like, okay, are they going to be people of their word? Because it wasn't even just Karnisovas. Billy Donovan also expressed that was his goal as the coach of the team. I'm like, okay, so this season, hey, 35% of our 3-point or our attempts from the field are 3-pointers. That's a full 5% higher. That's league average right now, right? We're shooting 28% on them, which is 29. The volume is there. The percentage is not. I don't got the data to say if they're healthy shots, but they're getting them up. They're getting them up, and they're not falling. The half-court offense, the thing that it carried us last season to be a slightly sub-500 team, is gone. I watched Cade Cunningham, Killian Hayes, and Jaden Ivey walk to the rim at will. And then when the layup wasn't there, guess what? What was? Jalen Duren. So the half-court offense was the thing we held our hat on, and that's gone. And the offense is still as bad as it was last year. Actually, it's worse than it was last year. What is our identity? When you think about identities across basketball, usually a team that's been together for 3 seasons kind of have an idea of what their identity is. This Bulls team doesn't know. That is a problem that can only be fixed with trades, with movements, because this team has reached its pinnacle. I've buried the lead a little bit more. Patrick Williams. I've spewed the Patrick Williams propaganda for the past 4 years. The start of this season is as bad as it could be. Not just for the team, but for Pat. We're 3 games to the year. Remember, Patrick Williams is our starting power forward, right? He's a starting power forward. And, well, for the majority of these games, he ends up getting benched in the fourth quarter because Torrey Craig is just a better option. Billy Donovan said, we didn't bench Patrick Williams because we didn't want him to play, but it was just the best thing for the team at the time. Just meaning he was ass. Patrick Williams has played 3 games this season as the starting power forward on the team. Guys, he has not attempted a shot at the rim yet. He has not attempted a free throw yet. Do you know how hard it is to play as many minutes as Pat has played, to start on a team and not get one layup attempt, one dunk? I'm disappointed because, again, I think about the Chicago Bulls and I think about the potential of blowing it up. And the one thing I hang my hat on is like, hey, as long as we keep P. Will, we'll be all right. Zach Lowe last week or 2 weeks ago was saying that Patrick Williams wants a lot of money. We got to the deadline of the rookie extensions and Patrick Williams was one of the players that did not get an extension done. Zach Lowe reporting is saying, hey, Patrick Williams wants more than $20 million a year. And I'm looking at this man average 3 points per game through 3 seasons. And I got to ask his people in charge, how can you get there where you believe that his value right now is over $20 million annually? Doesn't exist. And this is not the last we'll talk about the Bulls today, but I'm extremely, extremely disappointed. My boy Cone, shout out to 3 Cone, made a tweet that the Bulls are on pace to blow their team up by mid-November. And as much as I want to believe that, I do not believe that is the case. Knowing who's in charge and the moves they've made over the last 4 seasons of them being in charge, that's just not the way they run their teams. If the Bulls are going to make trades, from my understanding of how they run things, it's going to be a retooling instead of a, hey, let's trade a piece here, let's trade a piece here, let's trade a piece here. So, before we get into the fourth thing that I've learned so far in the season, it is time for the Ask Kenny Beecham segment. If you're new around here, we answer questions from you guys at home. All you have to do is comment down below with the hashtag ASKKB or go on to X or Twitter and use that same hashtag AskKB for your question to be featured. This one, again, is on the topic of the Bulls, and that's why we're bringing it up now. From Keenan Ellis. If the Bulls blow it up, who are you keeping? Which players are top priority to trade away? If DeMar, Levine, and Vucevic are traded, how many picks should you get? Thank you, Keenan, for viewing the show and sending in this question. This is the way I kind of thought about it. If you're under the age of 24, there's no reason to trade you away. Because if we're deciding to do it, again, I don't think this is a likelihood, but if we're deciding to do the blow-up thing, what do you want to blow up? Just young, talented players, right? So this is the crop of players that I would keep around for sure. It's Kobe White. It's Patrick Williams. I know I just said all those things about him, but Patrick Williams is Dalen Terry, it's Julian Phillips, and it's Ayo Dosunmu. Mostly guards, but those are the guys that I would comfortably say are safe in a tear it down, blow up scenario. Trading away DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, Alex Caruso, and Nikola Vucevic. The problem with the Chicago Bulls' potential rebuild is that if we decide to do it, Bulls fans, I want you to brace yourselves to not get back anything in return or anything that you would be super excited about. Why do you ask? Why do you say that, Kenny? DeMar DeRozan is an aging player who still looks really good on the last year of his deal, but he's not a plug-and-play player. It's not like he's a 3-and-D guy that you can add to 29 other organizations and he's going to get his and he's going to be impactful. He is a guy that if you are traded for him, you kind of have to make real adjustments to your offense. Because as an off-ball player, DeMar DeRozan at the age that he is, isn't very impactful. DeMar DeRozan is a heavy ISO, heavy mid-range pull-up guy, and he always have been that. But he's less on the cutting as he was in his heydays in Toronto, less with moving without the ball as heydays in Toronto, or even the last couple of years with the Spurs. He's kind of, if I don't have the ball, kind of just existing. So if you're trading for that type of player, you're typically not giving up crazy draft capital. Last year of his contract, he's aging, and he doesn't necessarily fit well anywhere. Oh, we'll take a flyer on DeMar DeRozan, I guess. We're not giving you up anything crazy. I would be genuinely surprised if the Bulls decide to trade DeMar DeRozan and they got back a real first-round pick. Not one of them fake lottery protected and it turns into 2 seconds. I mean, like, if they got a real first-round pick for DeMar DeRozan, I would genuinely be surprised. Again, it's nothing to do with his productivity. It's just his play style and his lack of contract. Because you're trading for him, well, you got to pay him next season if you want to keep him around. And typically, you're not giving up that much capital, that much draft assets for somebody that's going to be on an expiring contract and probably won't resign, or you're going to have to spend a lot of money. Because I think that part of the reason why the Bulls are here and DeMar DeRozan's here is because he wants a bag. Hey, I made an All-NBA team with y'all. I made 2 All-Star games with y'all. You got to throw me a Duffy. And the Bulls are probably like, you are so All-Star 35-ish. I don't know the exact number. So minimum return. Zach LaVine just put up 50. Bona fide bucket getter. Can hang with the best of them when it comes to scoring the ball, but obviously he's a flawed player, just like all of them are. He signed a really big contract. And I've talked to some people. Now, I don't want to make it seem like I'm in the super know or I have these sources, but I've talked to people that know people, and people don't look at Zach LaVine's contract as something that they really like. Simply put, it's a lot of money. It is a lot of money. But again, when Zach is healthy, look at the second half of last season. When Zach LaVine was completely healthy, he was averaging 28. He can hoop. Bonafide star. I actually want to see Zach LaVine on the team where he's not taxed to be the one guy or even the 2 guy. I think that the Chicago Bulls is a place where NBA careers go to die. It has been that way since the good era, the Tom Thibodeau era. So I don't think his market will be as high as you would think. We're talking about an all-star caliber player who can put up 25 in his sleep, but long contract, big contract, not known as a really plus defender. Even though I do think it's in there for Zach LaVine, I just don't think Chicago is the place where he's going to unlock it completely. I think on a one-on-one defender basis, Zach LaVine is pretty average to decent. It's what's happening around him when his defender or his person doesn't have the ball. It's like, what do I do now? You know? So I don't think his value is as high. Vucevic, no market. No market. Look at the other 29 teams across basketball. How many of them can you see trading for Nikola Vucevic as a starting center? It's not many of them, man. And even the ones that do need a center, do they want a 34-year-old center? Probably not. I also don't know the age of any of these players. So when I say 34, he could be 32 for all I don't know. I just know he's in his 30s, right? The guy that has value is Alex Caruso, but it's role player value. You know what I'm saying? Alex Caruso is an all-defensive player. The game that we won against the Toronto Raptors, we give a ton of credit to Alex Caruso for that because he was everywhere. Alex Caruso is the type of player that if he was not on my favorite team, I would hate going against him because he hacks. Yeah, I watch him every single night. He hacks and he gets away with it, which we love. But he gets away with it, and he's all over the place. Guards your best player, plays really good on the help, deflection. He's leading the league in deflections again for like the 3rd year in a row. That's who he is. And for a team that is trying to compete, we're looking at a $9 million contract that is easily to be replicated with players in your roster. He's a guy that would bring back a value that you're like, oh, Alex Caruso is worth that. Yeah, it's him. The rest of the team, we start talking about the Torrey Craigs of the world, the Andre Drummonds of the world. I don't know exactly what their value would potentially be. I would, if we decide to blow it up, I would want to do what's right by Torrey Craig by sending him to a place where he can play real basketball instead of playing on a team that's trying to tank. But that's what I think, Keenan. The Bulls aren't good. How about that? The next question comes from, oh man, I'm Ron. I apologize. I terrible with names. He says, rank the 5 best young cores in the league. Y'all know I love a good old ranking. Ranking the top 5 young cores in ball is a lot more difficult than you think. The question is, what do we consider a young core? Are the Cavs a young core? They got Evan Mobley, Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Jared Allen. Those players are relatively young. Super young in Evan Mobley's case. I didn't count them. Really, real playoff experience and stuff. It was a 5-game series, 6-game series. I mean, maybe not real playoff experience, but playoff experience nonetheless. I didn't count the Grizzlies, who have Jaren Jackson Jr., John Morant, Desmond Bane, because Real playoff experience. I don't remember, like 17 games or something last year or throughout the course of Desmond Bane's career or something like that. Real playoff experience. If I did count them as young, they're towards the top. But I kind of looked at the teams that were kind of on the outside and kind of to rank it that way, okay? Cool. The number one young core in basketball, in my opinion, is the OKC Thunder. They have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Josh Giddey, Chet Holmgren, J-Dub, Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wick. Do we need to go on? Like, this team is the real deal when it comes to young core. I like young cores that show the value and not necessarily just the potential. And we're seeing that right now with their 2-1 record. We saw it last year when they won 40 games, and that was without Chet. So it's like this team knows how to win. They're very well coached, and it seems like all of their players continue to get better and better and better. Second team, in my opinion, Orlando Magic. Yeah. Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner. I'm throwing Wendell Carter in there as well. Markelle Fultz in there as well. This is pretty top-heavy, but I really do believe in Franz, and I really do believe in Paolo as being future all-star players. That was one of the ways I kind of looked at it. Like, how many future all-stars can I comfortably say is on this team? Now, of course, we don't really know. Maybe some of these players plateau and never reach their full potential, whatever. But I could see them having 2 all-stars, and I see Paolo Banchero as a guy that's going to be able to make future All-NBA teams. Like, I believe them that much. So, my number 3 is Detroit basketball. We're going to talk a little bit about Detroit basketball in a minute, so I don't want to bury it, or I don't want to belabor it. We will get to them, but Detroit is my number 3. My number 4 is the San Antonio Spurs. It's because of the big fella. What can I say? The big fella carries. The big fella could have me on his team and the homies, and I will probably put them as the 4th best core because he's that nice. Again, he struggled relatively in his first 3 games of his NBA career, but when he shows those flashes, you're like, oh, yeah. Yeah. When he blocked Jabari Smith Jr. 2 times in a row and he got down court for that, yes, he does that. And then lastly, I have the Houston Rockets. I still love Alperen Sengun. I am still a believer in Jalen Green, even though it hasn't been amazing to start the year off. Same thing with Jabari Smith Jr., the Thompson twin. The other Thompson twin is in Detroit. High potential guys. I feel like over the last couple seasons, I've tweeted this every year at the draft that they've won. They got to put it together, man. They got to put it together. Starting off the season hasn't been great. I would say that hasn't been great, but I believe in their young core. Those are going to be my top 5. The last question of Ask KB, remember that is hashtag AskKKB, if you want to be featured on the next episode, is from the B-Ball Pro 1800. How you get that name? You playing overseas somewhere? I don't know. After a few games of the season, who are some of your favorite teams to watch? Mines are the Pacers, Pistons, and Bucks. That is a good group. That is a very, very good group. The Pacers are also on my list as well. How do I explain this? If I am going to try to get someone to become an NBA fan, and I could say you can watch one game from one team, I think I'm telling them the Golden State Warriors because of Steph Curry. I think I'm telling them the Boston Celtics just because they have so many great players. But then I'm telling them the Indiana Pacers. Because if you want to fall in love with basketball, go watch the team that is running and running. This team has a limited stamina. They're in Gear 5 all the time. It took Luffy 1,000 chapters to get to Gear 5. Them boys start off that way from tip-off. And if you watch the last episode, or the last game that they played against the Cavaliers, where you saw Tyrese hit 3 after 3 after 3, and it talked to the crowd, that's real, man. This team runs and it guns, and it's great. It's fun. And they have all the guard plays you can want. You're always going to have a player on the court that you can trust with the ball. You're going to have some highlights. You're going to have some dunks. You're going to have elite level 3-point shooting. Aaron Nesmith, I've been seeing him go crazy recently. So that's a team. And again, that's a team that's not a superstar team. Also, Denver Nuggets. I should say Denver Nuggets too. Yeah, the Denver Nuggets. I'm telling a random person to watch the Nuggets. But like, of all of the teams that are not considered a contender or whatever, the Pacers are number 1 if I'm trying to get somebody to care about basketball. I also have the New Orleans Pelicans. Yeah, boys. I've been high on the Pelicans all off season. I told the world that if they could just stay healthy, they're going to be good. They're healthy through 2 games. It's just 2. And it hasn't looked pretty. It hasn't been great, but it's working. It's working. They're gonna benefit very well when Trey Murphy III comes back because they desperately need spacing. Right now, it is kind of clogged up for everybody involved, but they're able to make it work. The defense is looking as good as you can imagine. They have my guy Jordan Hawkins. Shout out to Jay Hawk coming off the bench and his Kobe Grinches and no other accessories hitting 3-pointers. Matt Ryan was called off the street. Matt Ryan was called off the street. Me and the homies were watching this game in Discord. We're like, who the hell is number 37? It was Matt Ryan. And he came in, he had 3 threes in the season. They'll be like, oh my God. Zion looks good. Still a full head of steam. There's not a person in the league that can stop him. Julius Randle has a similar build than Zion. I saw Zion put him on his ass a couple times the other night. Simply put. Team looks good. Herb Jones still got go-go gadget arms, and they forced a lot of turnovers against the Knicks the other night. Again, it's not pretty right now. It's not pretty. But if they can be decent until they get healthy with Trey Murphy coming back in a month or two and Jose Alvarado coming back, however, when, I don't know, man, because this injury came early or recently too. They can add more shooting. It's a wrap. It's just a wrap. Health and shooting is all they need. So those are the Ask KB segments. Again, hashtag ASKKB if you want to be featured. We have a few more things that I've learned on the NBA season, going back into it with number 4. I mentioned that we were going to get into it with the Detroit Pistons. I'm here, y'all. I also have them on my teams to watch list, but I knew I was going to talk about them now, so I just held out for them. The thing that I learned, just the one singular thing I learned, Jalen Duren's ceiling is a lot higher than I thought. He is a teenager. He has not turned 21 years old just yet. And this man is doing some crazy stuff. During the FIBA scrimmages between Real Team USA and the practice squad, there was a lot of buzz about the pick and roll between Jalen Duren and Cade Cunningham. And from our understanding, from all the reports of camp, they were giving the Real Team USA to work. Now, we found out that the Real Team USA wasn't as good as we thought they could have been. So maybe, take that with a grain of salt until you watch the first couple games of the season, because that pick and roll is very good. And it's good now. But can you imagine when Bojan Bogdanovic comes back? Can you imagine throughout the years of Cade and Jalen Duren playing together, when they add adequate amount of spacing around them? There's not going to be a lot of things you can do. Because Cade Cunningham is a genuine bucket, but he's also such a willing passer, and he does a very good job of putting it on the money, specifically for Jalen Duren. After the game, Jalen Duren was talking about like, hey, Cade Cunningham is a super high IQ player, as am I. So we got this connection. And if you watch the Bulls versus the Detroit Pistons, you saw it. Didn't matter. Jalen Duren was bullying everybody. Andre Drummond has a reputation of just being a stockier bruiser type of dude. Jalen Duren was going right at his chest. Tip dunk, alley-oop, all of the things. And I'm not even mentioning the other side of the ball where it's like Alcatraz in the paint right now. Exaggeration. But he's very good. Reminder, he is a 19-year-old center. Usually the center position is one of the few that takes years and years and years to become decent at, because on the defensive side of the ball, I don't care what nobody tell you. I'm talking specifically to my cousin Pierre, who's a co-host of my other podcast. The defensive position that matters the most and that is the most difficult is the center position. It just is. So it's very rare that you see a young center come into basketball and become at least be a good defender. We saw Walker Kessler do it last year. Shout out to him. But it's rare. Jalen Duren you saw the glimpses last year, but I couldn't call him a really good defender last year. Through the first 3 games of this year, I'm like, yo, that's pretty good for one season's time. That's really good. And it's just, I don't know, a sight to be seen. I just want to see how it progresses throughout the rest of the season. Because again, they will add more spacing when Bogdanovic comes back. Because right now they're running with Isaiah Stewart, who's showing the willingness to step out and shoot some threes and stuff. And sometimes they fall, sometimes they don't. But no team really respects Isaiah Stewart at the same time. So he can get his attempts up. But the opposing coaches are not game planning to close out heavily on an Isaiah Stewart pull up or catch and shoot 3. But Bojan Bogdanovic, who's a career 38% three-point shooter, you can't do the same thing. So once the game is opened up for him and Cade Cunningham, the spread pick and roll potential is ridiculous. I watched Asar Thompson, right? Damn it. I don't think they watched this show. I'm pretty sure it was Asar. Hey, listen. They're twins, all right? They're twins. I might struggle with it for a little bit. Asar Thompson, I guess I'm in too. Asar Thompson has the potential to be one of the greatest perimeter defenders in all of basketball. I would argue through the first 3 games, he's in the top 10 in perimeter defenders that I've watched so far through the first 3 games of the year. He is a high IQ, no back down type of player. Like some people are afraid to get mixed up. He's not afraid. It hasn't happened yet. Yeah, it's gonna happen. Everybody gets caught. But boy, is that guy nice. And if any of the two brothers can ever learn how to shoot like league average minimum, come on, man. The fifth thing that I learned for the first week of the season is that Tyrese Maxey makes this James Harden thing not matter at all. Joel Embiid is still Joel Embiid. Don't get me wrong. Joel Embiid just had a ridiculous game against the baby Trailblazers where I don't even know the stat line. It was close to a 5-by-5, I'll tell you that much. It was one of the better stat lines of the year so far. So Joel Embiid is still Joel Embiid. He's still MVP form, whatever. But Tyrese Maxey, man, he's averaging 20 to 30-ish point. I don't got the upgraded numbers after this game, but he put up 30 plus in the first couple games. This game, I think he had 27 or something. So he's still averaging nearly 30 points per game or slightly above it. And the thing that surprised me the most, or the thing that I'm most excited about for him, because on one of the previous episodes, when we talked about the most intriguing players in the league, I brought up Tyrese Maxey because his future, his play is as important as anybody's across basketball for a singular organization. Whether they trade James, whether James comes back, whether they blow it all up and Joel Embiid requests a trade, whatever. Tyrese Maxey's play is as important as anybody's. And the way he's hooping right now, I don't expect Joel Embiid to be like, I want out. Again, I don't know what's going on in that brother's brain, but that's how good he has been. If Joel Embiid goes into the office and talks to Daryl Morey and say like, hey, Daryl, I already know my own playoff woes, whatever. I understand I haven't been amazing, but I promise I'm going to get better. I need to know that next year you're going to do the right thing and put together a really good team. This man, Daryl Morey, has the backbone to say, or the thing to say, like, well, Maxey's an all-star now. So that's one thing. And we'll still, based on the contracts coming off the books, and shout out to Toby, he's been amazing so far through the first 3 games. We have the contract coming off the books next year to still have a near max contract spot. So, if you just thug it out for the rest of the season, you Maxey near max spot, even though this free agency class ain't crazy. We got Klay Thompson, Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, DeMar DeRozan, whatever. We gonna get you another guy. Oh, I swear we gonna get you another guy. Maybe Joel Embiid is like, I bet. I trust you, Daryl. Last minute trust Daryl. No James Harden joke. The last man that trusts Daryl got backstabbed potentially. I don't know the stories. Tyrese Maxey has been amazing. And it's not just the scoring aspect, because again, we knew Tyrese Maxey can score. He's been doing this for the last couple seasons. He's a high efficiency 3-point shooter. He can get downhill. He runs the break. The thing that I am so impressed with through 3 games as the primary ball handler against some decent team, at least the first game is against a decent team. Tyrese Maxey has 2 turnovers in 3 games. 2 turnovers in 3 games. And one of them came today in the first possession of the games. I ain't even counting that one. He has been as good as you can imagine. He's finding Joel Embiid exactly where Joel Embiid wants to be found. Now, it's not going to compare with the James Harden Joel Embiid pick and roll. We can all agree there. James Harden's one of the best pick and roll players in the history of basketball. Like, there's not many players that can run a pick and roll like James, right? We're going to give him all of that credit. But if James is a 10, the first 3 games of the season, Tyrese Maxey is at least a 7.5. And that's good enough at the moment. That's good enough at the moment. I can't tell if this is the best case scenario or the worst case scenario for James Harden, because I can see it being the best case scenario where it's like, hey, Daryl Morey's like, maybe we don't need to trade him for another star. Tyrese Maxey's that good. Or it could be the worst case scenario where Daryl Morey's like, hey, we don't need to trade you at all because we good. Tyrese Maxey has been phenomenal. And of all of the players who have yet to make an all-star game, and you're asking me who do I believe is going to make that, it's Tyrese. Also got a little stock in Scotty Barnes, but it's Tyrese right now, and it's not even really close. The last and final thing I've learned through the first week of the NBA season is right now, Pascal Siakam is the odd man out. Again, I'm only saying right now because Pascal is a multiple All-NBA player. He's a perennial All-Star. He is very, very good. I don't want you to think that this is me saying that he's a bad player or he's not good enough, because he is. But obviously, this offseason was very important for the front office to come out there and get a guy, and Darko last name, to get him to come and put a new form of offense in. Nick Nurse's offense was, by some people's accounts, very stagnant, very ISO heavy, and they needed something that was more free flowing. And through the first 3 games, Pascal Siakam was averaging 13.3 field goal attempts per game. It's not a lot, y'all. That is the lowest amount of field goal attempts he's had for a singular season since the 2018-2019 season, the year that he won Most Improved Player. I don't expect that it's going to stay at 13.3, but a lot of the times we see Pascal Siakam kind of spotting up, where in the past, he got a lot of isolation touches. The first 3 games, I don't have the pure isolation stats or the frequency stats because a lot of the statistics sites usually want a bigger sample size before they start putting out their numbers. So eventually we can talk about it, but I don't have the stats, but I have the eye test to show you that, or to tell you that Pascal's not getting as many touches as he usually does, whether it be in the post, the high post, the mid-range area. That was where he did his work. And nowadays, because they're trying to implement this free-flowing offense, he's kind of relegated to let the offense develop and not necessarily get the touches that he normally gets. And there are some questions about it because, again, I've watched every single one of their games. The free-flowing offense idea, the cut and pass and cut, all of this stuff, I haven't seen it a ton. Is it better than last season? Probably, but it's still taking some time to really get adjusted to. Right now, there's a statistic going around on Twitter how Dennis Schroeder is the touch leader in Toronto over Pascal, over Scotty, over anybody involved. And that was something a lot of people did not anticipate. But I guess through the first couple games in Darko last name's offense, the point guard is that important. And Dennis Schroeder has been good. He's averaging 6 3-pointers a game. He's shooting nearly 50% from 3. Like, he's been good, but collectively, they haven't. Because they're running this new offense and they don't really have a great personnel for it, their half-court offense is dreadful. When you talk about the break, not many people are competing with the Toronto Raptors. Pascal on the break, it used to be memes of Pascal on the break. Not many people stopping him. Scotty Barnes, not many people stopping him on the break. But when things slow down and you get the Toronto Raptors in the half court, it can be dreadful. Now, their last game against the 76ers opened my eyes a little bit more. We got to see Grady Dick come off the bench, and he added an extra element of shooting that they desperately needed. Again, they lost that game because Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey are ridiculously talented. But I saw a lot of things with them incorporating Grady Dick a little bit more than the first couple of games, and we got to keep an eye on it. But as of right now, Pascal is kind of the odd man out. Scotty Barnes is kind of taking priority in a lot of those opportunities. And I've been extremely, extremely impressed with Scotty. The defensive versatility is there. The defensive upside that we've talked about for the last couple seasons is become a reality, at least through the first couple games. And I can still see him being able to blossom even more. His playmaking looks leagues ahead, and he's more aggressive, and he has less of those moments where you forget he's on the court, because I feel like a lot of that happened last year where I forgot Scotty was out there. You can't say that through the first 3 games. When Scotty is on the court for the Toronto Raptors, genuinely, he has been their best player. Stuff in the stat sheet, offensively and defensively. Those are the 6 things that I learned with the NBA season so far. And I'm here with the Astro 850. Shout out to her, my favorite headset of all time. But I want to introduce y'all to the newest addition to the Kenny Beecham Podcast family. Producer Greg is here, and he has some will it happen questions. Greg, how you doing?
I'm good, Kenny. Thanks for letting me on the team.
Of course. I'm excited for this.
So, will Wemby make the All-Star game?
Will Wemby make the All-Star game? I genuinely believe that Wemby will make the All-Star game. Now you're like, whoa, Kenny, slow down. He's averaging like 18 points per game through the first 3, and it's been more flashes than actuality so far. When we think about when the All-Star game is and the amount of time he'll have to adjust to the NBA game and how cognizant he is as an NBA player, I think he can make it. Especially when you start talking about fan voting, because I think he's already a fan favorite. He's already been viral every time he played the game. He's got the entire country of France over there are going to be voting for him. And I can't underestimate how important it is. I want you to remember when Zaza was this close to being an all-star starter because the country of Georgia or the Republic of Georgia was there voting for him. So I'm going to say that Wemby will be the first all-star since Blake Griffin, or rookie all-star since Blake Griffin. How about that?
Number 2, will Zion play 55 games this season?
You know my love for Z. You know my love for Z. Now, he has one season where he's had over 55, which feels crazy. 35% of his NBA potential games have been played. I'm going to say this is the year. I've bought all of the New Orleans Pelicans stock. So I'm going to say, yes, he will play 55. And I'm going to even say when he plays, they have a 75% win percentage. Book it.
Number 3, will Austin Reeves average 18 points per game this season?
I think Austin Reeves averaged 13 and 17 once he got to the playoffs last year, right? And people were very excited for Austin Reeves, me included. I watched him in FIBA, and I was like, man, this guy looks like he's poised for another year where he gets significantly better. I haven't seen it so far. One of my major gripes with Austin Reeves, is, especially when I got to see him live, is that he is in the company of the whistle. And I understand it. The layup, the free throw, and the three-point shot are the 3 most important shots in basketball. But sometimes I feel like Austin Reeves is trying to get the whistle way more than he should when I know he's just a baller. He can go get a basket. But will I see him jump from 13 to 18 in a regular season? I'm going to say no on it, even though I think it's possible. I just wouldn't bet on it myself.
Last one. Will Ben Simmons make a three-pointer this season?
Benjamin. The real question is, will Ben Simmons attempt a free throw? Because through the first couple games, he ain't even seen the line yet. Everybody talks about how afraid he is to get fouled. And in the preseason, he got to the line a decent amount for his own value. Will he make a three? I will be excited. You know what? I'm going to say yes. Because there's going to be a moment in time where Ben Simmons has the ball 2 seconds before halftime, and he's going to chuck up a half-court heave, and it's going to go in. It's not even going to be a half-court offense 3. It's not going to be in the flow. It's going to be a chuck up at the end of the quarter, and it's going to go in, and we were like, there you go, Ben. Can't believe we fall for the Ben Simmons hype every year. Now, he's been good. Don't get me wrong. He's been good this year, but like him shooting in warm-ups, like, oh, here it comes. He went the whole preseason without attempting one, man. I need it. So I'm going to say yes. Again, I want to thank producer Greg for stepping in for that one. He will be here every single episode to help us out. I want to say thank you to you for watching or listening to this episode of the Kenny Beecham Podcast. And I want to remind you, if you watched this whole 50-minute to an hour episode, you must have liked something. So leave it a like. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go over to TikTok, Kenny Beecham Podcast, we there. Go over to Twitter, Kenny Beecham Pod, we're there. Go over to Apple and Spotify. 5 stars goes a very long way. Do you want to be a part of the team that takes down Shannon Sharp? Then you gotta leave us 5 stars and pre-download the episodes. I will see y'all in a couple days. We'll be back on Thursday with more hoops. See you then. Peace.